They look like they're being a version of their past self. And I wonder whether how your Zen Buddhism informs the way you look at the way Hollywood or your colleagues in many cases seem to fight aging using surgery.
Well, you know, I'm pretty compassionate about it because there really is a shelf life. You know, women hit their shelf life in Hollywood in their early 30s, and men hit their shelf life maybe at 45 or 50. You see a star, I don't care how big they are, once they're a little over 50, they're a co-star with a young, new generation star. So much of that stuff is like trying to prolong your period of earning. You know what I mean? I mean, you're penalized when you start to get old, and I actually think it's the weakness of the men. I think the men are afraid of aging, and they want to show off by walking into the room with a trophy, and they're sort of afraid of the full, I don't know, womanliness of. I mean, I think if a woman looks good when she's young, if she lives a good life, she's going to look great when she's older.
Without being injectable.
Listen, I can remember I did a film once called A Man in Love, and my co-star was named Greta Scacchi, just a drop-dead gorgeous blonde model and actress and brilliant, great friend. And the woman who played her mother in the film was Claudia Cardinale, and she was probably in her mid-50s, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, what was it, Greta? You know, so I think it's the difference between Europe and America. It's one of the big differences. Is like, in Europe, a guy may have an affair with his secretary, but he's not going to leave his wife, by and large. And she's not going to lose her station, and she's not going to lose her you know, her livelihood,
her reputation,
and so she doesn't have to beat herself into shoe leather in the gym. But in America, the guy will leave his wife to the secretary. And so the older women are trying to stay younger, they're trying to forestall the competition of younger, you know, available women. And I think it has a lot of sadness and tragedy in it, but I think it's motivated by male insecurity. You know, why are you afraid of a woman who's getting older?
And I understand what you're saying about prolonging productivity and income, and I have a very good friend who's a director, and he colors his hair. He wears much younger clothing that he might ordinarily, and he never answers clearly when he's in an application process to be part of a project, just how many films he's done. He usually only lists like 10 years of his work because he's afraid if he puts down all 30 years, they're just going to do the math and go, oh, we don't want a guy that old, and they won't even look at his work fairly. I get that. They may. And they may. I understand that. And I think that there's some kind of reason that I can, but there's also an ego. And maybe this is what I'm tracking with that I'm shocked by in some respects. Because I think that some people just become so addicted to fame that it isn't about money anymore. They probably already have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. But they also, they want that elusive attention. They want to continue to be the center of attention. And they associate that with an appearance instead of accepting the fact that they will look beautiful at 55 without Juvederm and without their faces all puffed up. They think that people won't like them unless they do that. And I think that's as much about ego as it is about money. But I could be wrong. You live that life closer than I do.
Well, I mean, just look at it this way for a second. It's like everybody wants to be next to the guy that has the juice.
Right.
I've seen it, when I had the juice, I would be at the table and people would be pushing my wife out of the way to talk to me, like that was going to win me over.
Right.
And, everybody has this feeling that when you get famous, it's true. Women are throwing themselves at you. And people are paying attention to you, and you're on everybody's party list. And if that means a lot to you, it's a big loss.
That's what I'm getting at.
You're not the center of attention.
Right.
I can remember the day in which I realized that I had lost my interest as a sexual being. I was at a fundraiser for some charity, and I saw this really handsome, kind of northern Italian woman with short bobbed hair, very stylish, in a kind of khaki pantsuit. And I said to myself, well, I'm just going to stand here behind her. She's looking out the window, and I'll just see here that when she turns around, she'll see me. And I was used to that, people seeing me and having some effect. And this woman turned around and just eyes went right past me and passed across my face and just kept going.
Right.
And if you're used to the attentions of women, if you're used to being the center of attention, it's a shock. And if you don't have anything else going on in your life, it can be crippling. Right. For me, by the time I aged out like that, I was tired of celebrity. Good. I found it made people come up to me weird. They were either too aggressive or too deferential or not coming up authentically. And, interrupting me at dinner. And
right.
I'll never forget once I was in Fargo in L.A. and my wife and I were having a terrible time. And she was in tears at the table. And I looked over my shoulder and there was a woman crouching with a pad and a pencil.
Oh, God.
A big smile on her face.
Oh, no.
Paying no attention that there was a woman weeping 6 feet away from her.
Read the room.
Yeah, just so... I know what it is, and some people love it and need it. I don't, and I didn't. And I don't really miss it. As soon as my kids were out of grad school, debt-free, I was gone.
Right.
Because my real thing is to be a writer.
Yeah. Well,
I was an okay actor, but I was never going to be Daniel Day-Lewis or Sean Penn or Robert De Niro. And I did as well as I could with it, and it was a great life. I did 160 movies and, traveled the world and stuff, but I didn't really enjoy it very much.
I'm so fascinated by that, and I've always been interested in fame as a concept, as a construct. Yeah. And I don't know if you know that fame, and our word fama, comes from a goddess. In Roman mythology, connected to an original Greek goddess who had the same function, and fama would go across battlefields and notice somebody doing something heroic, and then through her trumpet, she would herald this person and take them up from obscurity and elevate them in society and talk about what they did. But what was really interesting about fama is she didn't care whether it was a good act or a bad act. And so she could just as easily, the next day, highlight the fact that you went home and did a horrible deed, and that too would be broadcast through the Golden Trumpet, and you would be ruined. And so fama was always this completely dispassionate reporter of our human deeds, which would make us famous one day and miserable the next, because people were paying attention to us and we thought it would always be good. And I think that is still a model for how fame works.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I mean, if you think about the culture, they love to discover somebody that nobody's met and build them up and build them up. And then when everybody knows them and says they're famous, then they start tearing them down.
Right.
I mean, you can get famous for having big breasts. That's enough.
Yeah.
Get on the cover of magazines.
It's probably my only hope.
They can monetize it. I mean, so who am I to say they're crazy? there are people, doing silly stuff on Twitter and stuff, and they've
Right.
got hundreds of thousands of followers.
Right.
So,
Nope. I think that's, and I always liken fame. I always said there's kind of two kinds of fame, and I enjoy a very minor celebrity, right? I mean, I publish books, I do a little TV here and there, and I of course got this radio thing, and I'm a professor, and to me, the level of fame that I've always been very comfortable with is like a puppy on the lawn, and I'm tied up, and people come by and they pet me on the head, and then they rub my stomach. And they're like, oh, you're so wrong, I love it, oh, good. And then they walk on. But being really famous is like being a goat in a petting zoo. And you're just getting your tail pulled, and people are rubbing your face too hard, and they're trying to make you eat things you don't want to eat. And that, to me, that's the fame I've always tried to avoid. I thought that's just not worth it.
I get it. You see it clearly. I've had friends that have been really, really famous.
Right.
And you couldn't get me to have their life.
Right.
They can't go anywhere. They can't be out in the world without being swamped. So they go from one gated community to another, one private jet to another. The one gift that an actor has is his ability to observe people. And when you're too famous, you go into every room and all you see are people looking at you.
Right.
You don't get to observe them anymore.
And that obviously carries over into their craft, too, because when you're watching them, you can't help but go, oh, look, there's so-and-so acting the part of a carpenter. And, oh, here's so-and-so. And you can't quite ever get past their fame to accept the character or the acting that they're doing. I know that's a hackneyed, observation, but it's still true. And it's also, again, why I at the risk of being sycophantic myself, that's what I really always loved about watching it. I would always get excited. Go, oh, look, there's Peter Coyote. But you quickly became, in my mind, you were the character, not the actor, because I know nothing about your private life. I don't know about divorces. I don't know about children. I don't read about you in the tabloids. So to me, you just fall back into the character, which is what acting is all about.
Well, there are two kinds of stars, as I've figured it out. There's one kind of star that are like icons, right? And they always show America a certain reliable side of themselves which they love. It's got nothing to do with their talent. I mean, if you think about Robert Redford, he's a brilliant actor. But he's always showing you kind of this guy, you can trust this. You can trust.
Right.
Tom Cruise is always going to show you the same kind of sides of himself. And then there are transformers, like Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, or Daniel Day-Lewis, Ray Fiennes, Anthony Hopkins. And these guys, they're respected, but they're never really loved like the icons.
Oh, that's a good point.
The audience sort of feels like, wait a minute, man. If I believe you as a child molester, you got to have a little of that in you. And so they don't know who you are, and there's more of a sense of danger. And I always identified with those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have that level of skill of any of the people I mentioned, but that seems to be the game. The game was to show and become someone else.
Yeah, like Daniel Day-Lewis did so well as Lincoln. That is just an amazing performance. Yeah.
He's astounding. Philip Seymour Hoffman, but
yes.
I mean, across these guys, Daniel Day-Lewis has pretty much stopped acting. Philip Seymour Hoffman overdosed from doing Death of a Salesman. I mean, it was too painful every night. So, there's no free ride.
I'm so glad you avoided that, or learned the lesson early enough to avoid it later. When
I was old when I started, Ian.
Yeah.
I didn't get my Screen Actors Guild card till I was 39. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, I had already lived the life. I had been with the Hells Angels. I'd been with really tough guys. I had been with really rich people and smart guys. It's like I'd seen life, so I couldn't fake certain stuff.
So when you were doing a part before you gave up the game, when you were doing a part and you were also learning and going deeper in your Buddhist practice, how did you decide what parts you would do? How did your spiritual side inform your professional side?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. I struggled with that. And here's how I struggled with it. So when I decided, remember, I spent all these years as a digger.
Right.
Anonymous, doing everything for free. I was in magazines with Allen Ginsberg and people like that. Nobody signed their name. So when I was getting ready to go to Hollywood, I thought, Jesus, how am I going to do this? This is the world of ego and narcissism and money and backstabbing and all of this stuff. And so I realized pretty early that I couldn't control the content of what I did. I was a migrant worker up for hire, and I could take the best of what I was offered. And my rule was if I had a month's money in the bank, I would turn down BS. If I had less than a month's money, I would take whatever came in the door because I had tuition and bills to pay and all that. But what I decided I could control was if I couldn't control the movie, I could control the way I made the movie. So I just decided that I would be the first one on the set. I would never argue with people. I would treat everybody the same way, from the lowliest production assistant to the stars and the directors. And I tell you, on almost every film I was on, somebody would come up to me and say, hey, do you have some kind of religion or something? And I'd say, well, why do you ask me? And they'd say, well, because you're the first guy on the set, you never complain, you're nice to everybody, you're respectful to everybody, you always know your lines, no tantrums. And I could say, yeah, I do, man, and that's part of my practice. That's what I'm doing. So, I've had to do a lot of stuff that I just think of as, out of the 160 films, most of them were named either mortgage or tuition.
I totally get that.
There were a dozen that I'm really proud of.
Well, you should be proud of the corpus, and it's interesting you term it that way too, because I think nobody would begrudge you that as a working actor, and I think there was maybe each one of those parts, even if you didn't love the part, that maybe there's something else you learned from that. But I'll tell you what I'm going to look forward to, which is in the next few minutes we'll give the numbers out, and other people can join the conversation with actor and Zen Buddhist priest Peter Coyote and author. I know I'll be working in more about the book and the therapeutic aspects of that idea, that beautiful concept of liberating through play and masks. Next on Coast to Coast AM, this is Ian Punnett.
As parents, we've done everything we can to keep our kids safe, happy, and healthy during this pandemic. From finding the best face masks to making sure their hands are clean. And now we have the best tool to help keep them even safer. The most important thing we can do is vaccinate our kids to protect them against COVID-19. Vaccines have been proven safe and effective for children 5 and up. Talk to your child's doctor or visit myturn.ca.gov to find a vaccine near you. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Can you do the alphabet backwards? I'm attorney Darren Kavanoki from 1-800-NO-CUPS. Z-Y-S-W-V-U-T. Yeah, you got it. It's not easy. Now imagine the stress of getting pulled over and having to do that by the side of the road. It's enough to make anyone stumble. So if you find yourself doing the alphabet backwards, and it's not just for fun, ask to call 1-800-NO-CUPS. Since no one looks good in handcuffs, unless you're into that sort of thing. 1-800-NO-CUPS.
Whatever happens, we have got it covered. And we're going to give Shannon an alcohol test.
No, we're not.
Gary Shannon will
We're going to give
continue.
you an emotions test if that's the lane we're driving in. Find out where those are hiding.
Behind your bottle of Chardonnay.
Ouch. Sharpest knife.
Gary and Shannon. Sharpest knives what?
We save the sharpest knife.
Oh, that's right. Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI. Fires will be more fiery. Droughts will be droutier.
Droutier.
Yeah.
Where can I look that one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's new. Handle made it a word this year.
Floods will be floodier. Tornadoes will be...
Tornado ear?
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds kind of stupid.
Oh, the other one's stupid.
I got it. Mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI. The problem is, the expectation I have for my governor is that he worries about simple things. There's a couple of very simple things that you can do to keep California great.
You have to walk before you run, Gav.
Jerry and Shannon, weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI. It's share and tell. Sharon tell.
I love it.
Like share with everybody.
I got it.
How about Sharon tell you?
No.
The Tim Conway Jr. Show.
Oh, that I like.
Weeknights at 6 on KFI.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County. Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
A fatal stray bullet. I'm Johnny DiAugustini in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Sad news this morning, a 13-year-old boy is dead after being hit by a stray bullet in Pasadena. Police report the shooting happened Saturday night near a home off North Raymond Avenue, where the teen was apparently playing video games in his bedroom. Between 3 and 5 bullets were fired, and at least one found its way through the boy's window. He was pronounced dead at a local hospital. Anyone with information about the shooting is urged to contact police. Southern California's gas prices are at the highest level since October 2012. The Auto Club says Los Angeles County drivers are currently paying an average of $4.70 for a gallon of regular gas. That's 4 cents higher than last week's average and 17 cents higher than last month. It's also an increase of $1.55 over last year's average in LA County. Governor Gavin Newsom is unveiling a series of big changes in Los Angeles designed to ease the supply chain gridlock at ports in Long Beach and LA. One of those changes is for transport trucks.
Temporary permits to relieve 80,000-pound weight restrictions for trucks to 88,000.
While empty containers are starting to move out faster than before, there's still a nationwide truck driver shortage adding to the problem. Costco is warning customers about a recall of Kool-Aid Tropical Punch drink mix. It was sold in some Costco's in the Los Angeles area. Kraft Heinz, who makes Kool-Aid, says the recall is due to the potential presence of small pieces of metal or glass. NASA is set to crash an aircraft into an asteroid in what will be the world's first planetary defense test mission. The asteroid is not a threat to Earth, and the agency says the purpose of the mission is to see if intentionally crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid will work in changing its course. The spacecraft DART will launch from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California late Tuesday or early Wednesday. Southland weather from KFI, clear skies and sunny today. High 70s at the beaches, low 80s in Metro LA, mid 80s in the Valley, and low 80s in the Inland Empire. It's 64 degrees in Avalon, 43 in Palmdale, 58 degrees in Van Nuys. Weekly local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom, I'm Johnny DiAugustini.
Checking KFI traffic, we do have a crash in the Norwalk area, 5 southbound Norwalk Boulevard. Only the left lane is open. Traffic is backed up to Florence. New Mission Viejo on the 5 southbound Crown Valley. Crash there has all lanes blocked. New Anaheim, look out for a wreck on the 91 eastbound at the 5. That's blocking the carpool lane. Matthew Rosemead, 10 eastbound Rosemead Boulevard. Crash blocking the left lane. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jonathan White.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids.
Donate your car today with 1-877 Cars for Kids. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a vacation voucher of 3 days and 2 nights. Also on the web at carsforkids.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
What would you do with $1 million? You just might find out the answer if you are the lucky winner of the $1 million moment at Yamava Resort and Casino at San Manuel on November 29th. It's the biggest cash prize in Yamava history. One winner, $1 million. Use your Club Serrano card to participate in qualifying promotions all November long. Visit Yamava.com/million for full details, and you could become an instant millionaire in one moment. The $1 million moment. Only at Yamava Resort and Casino. Details at Yamava.com. Must be 21 or over to enter. Please gamble responsibly.
Low-income homeowners may qualify for a supplemental grant that covers up to 100% of the cost of a seismic retrofit through the Earthquake Brace and Bolt program. To learn more, go to earthquakebracebolt.com.
The holidays are right around the corner. If you or someone you know needs help, the SoCal Honda dealers want to hear your story. Submit a voice message or text message by visiting KFIAM640.com, keyword helpful. And the helpful Honda guys and gals in blue, they help bring you some holiday cheer.
Invert your thinking with a free upgrade to the IQ8 microinverter, the world's only microinverter that provides instant energy backup during a power outage from Semper Solaris, your local veteran-owned solar and battery storage contractor. Here's veteran, founder and owner, Kelly Shawhan.
In the military, when you give your word, it just is your word. Work hard and keep your word. That's what we do every single day. Heard about Semper Solaris and found out that they were veterans. I knew they were going to do the job right.
Add touch to the power wall and be ready for blackouts. We get the job done with esprit de corps and honor. Semper Solaris offers new heating and air conditioning systems with a lifetime warranty and new roofs with a 50-year warranty. Go solar American style. Semper Solaris. Zero down, zero interest, and zero payment. Get the federal 26% solar and battery tax credit. Call 877-211-5591. That's 877-211-5591. Or visit SemperSolaris.com. IQ8 price the same as IQ7. 26% federal tax credit based on eligibility. Consult your tax advisor. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Some restrictions apply. New customers only. Call or see website for details. Expires 11/30/2021. CSW number 978-152.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the communities I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training